Okay, time to talk AFLW now on the Roco Show, brought to you by Nissan 2018 plate clearance on now, and we're very lucky to be able to catch up with Carlton AFLW player Kerryn Harrington. How are you, Kerryn?
Really well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Pretty short notice too. Not a lot of male players are that available at short notice, I should point out. But it's you've been in training a fair while now, and a season creeping closer. It's February 2's the first game, isn't it? So it's pretty close.
It's come around very quickly.
How's training gone for you guys? New coach. Obviously the Blues finished last year, so a fair bit of ground to make up. How do you feel like it's all gone?
Really different setup and pre-season to what we've had in the past. So you mentioned that Daniel Harford's come in on the coaching group and he's brought a whole new panel with him as well. So, completely fresh and new ideas for the girls, which is, at this point of the season, everything's been incredibly positive. And, we really we made a point of putting last season behind us. We learnt from the mistakes that we made. And, I think that the group's matured a lot in the off-season. We've acquired a lot of new players. I think we've got 11 new players come in, which always brings, a lot of positivity and fresh faces and those sort of things. So, it's been overwhelmingly positive so far, and can't wait. We're absolutely raring to go for Feb 2. So
in terms of those new faces, just in the coaching group, for people not across it, who has Half brought in with him?
So he's brought in Steve Salopek. So for any Port Adelaide fans of yesteryear, he's come in, he's taken over the defensive line. And brings with him a wealth of knowledge that he hasn't had a lot to do with AFLW or in women's footy so far, but his level of expertise and professionalism that he's brought from his own career and his coaching career beyond his playing days has been just fantastic for the girls to see the way that he attacks it and his ideas. Brad Fisher has come in, so for any Blues fans listening, I'm sure you'd be very familiar with the way that Fish goes about it. And he's taken over the forward line. And then we're really lucky to have Shannon McFerrin, who has come in. She was at Collingwood for AFL Season 2 and coached a VFL team over the winter. So all the girls are very familiar with the way that she goes about it. And she's transitioned seamlessly into the midfield role with the AFL group. So, incredible coaching panel. So
in terms of actual practical differences with drills you're doing out on the track and stuff, can you give us an example of how things have changed?
Yeah, so the focus for us pre-Christmas of the pre-season block was a lot of ball movement and the speed of the ball movement through the midfield. Probably a little bit more composure when we've got possession in the back line, and then just I suppose execution of skill going into the forward line. So for us, there was a huge focus on that sort of that ball movement and how we get it seamlessly from the defence into the attack. Coming post-Christmas turned a little bit more to sort of gameplay, and we've had a lot more match sim practice against ourselves, and we've also brought in a few of our VFL squad girls to really put into practice and execute what we'd been practicing pre-Christmas. So I think the focus for us is going to be, really pushing forward and our skill level going into the 50, which hopefully will transition to a bigger score than what we had last year.
I'm just interested with Salopek and Fisher, the guys that have come in without having that prior involvement with women's football. Have they said anything to you about adjustments they have to make in a coaching sense, or perhaps there aren't any?
Oh, look, I'm sure that there has been. It hasn't been discussed amongst the group. I think that they've probably learned a lot from the way that Half and also Shannon go about the way that they, I suppose, connect and communicate with the girls. I haven't been around their own men's football program, so I don't know how much it differs from a day-to-day or a training-to-training basis. But there's a lot of meetings that go on and a lot of communication that happens amongst our lines and then as a wider group as well. And, they're learning probably just as much as what we are. And I think there's a really good understanding that between the playing group and the coaching staff that the more that we communicate and the more that we, watch vision together and those sort of things, the more that we're going to grow and learn, hopefully in a very quick space of time. So, but as I said, things like, when we're doing our running sessions pre-season, Sal and Fish and, Shannon, even Half have all lined up and they've done every running drill with us. And, there's a level of trust that gets, I suppose, the familiarity of the playing group towards the coaching group has just grown in a very quick amount of time, which has been very, very positive.
I was going to ask you about Half. Is he still getting out there in the track in his jumbo-sized shorts?
He rocked a pair of tights the other week, which got very, very quickly shut down. He reckons he's very loud amongst the running groups, and he always seems to position himself never in the top group, but in the middle group. And there's been a few challenges thrown his way to work his way up, but he certainly loves to get out amongst it.
There's something about Half. He just strikes me as one of the most easily slag-offable coaches in the caper, I think. So you'll be able to give him plenty of flack at least, if nothing else.
He gives as much as he gets.
Oh, I know. Have you guys? I know Collingwood have had a couple of training sessions with men and women together. Have you guys done anything like that?
No, look, not this season, not officially. I think that the timing of when the fellas are in and training versus when we're in of a night time, we tend to cross out. So not in an official capacity, no.
The other addition I wanted to ask you about actually was Andy Marr. I saw his runner, and he did a scratch match with you guys on the weekend. It's a cheap shot, but it's an obvious one. I can't imagine Andy being able to deliver a message from the coach in anything less than about 5 minutes. How's that working?
He does love to have a chat, Andy. No, look, he without a doubt, he is the most enthusiastic bloke that has walked in the Carlton front doors for, I'm assuming, a very, very long time. He's brought just this level of positivity and enthusiasm for just being amongst the playing group, and brings his 3 daughters down, and his beautiful wife Emma comes to training. And I don't reckon he'd be hard pressed to find another person in the club that's more invested than what he is at the moment. I think he's more excited about round 1 than what we are. So he's been terrific. He's learning as much. He's never played, or he's never been in the role of the runner before, but let me tell you, he's put a lot of work in. He's been practicing with his daughters at home, and he's been a great addition to our club this year. He's just never fails to smile and give a cheap joke when he can. No,
I know from long and bitter experience he loves his Blues. Need to ask you about the impact, or in the scratch match anyway, and I did hear from other sources in the other scratch matches that were played last weekend, the rule changes seem to have had a pretty positive impact on play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the rules that they've brought in, they didn't take very long to adjust to, which is always helpful given that we've got such a short pre-season and not a lot of practice matches to be able to implement the rule changes. But certainly in our training sessions and those sort of things, we've been practicing them, particularly the one where we've got a kick out, we've got more space to run. And I think that in particular that rule is going to open up the game specifically because in the past, when you've got someone manning the mark who's only 15 metres away, I found that we were unable to clear the 50 from a kick out very easily. With the new rule change, we're able to clear the 50 pretty much with every kick. So, that's going to open up and hopefully allows the speed of ball through the middle and, certainly quicken the game up and give more scoring opportunities. So I think overwhelmingly from the weekend, the feedback from the rule changes would have been very positive.
The AFL had a bit of a briefing on the rules yesterday. The other thing I heard about it, which apparently was the case at the weekend, was the ball ins taken from 10 metres inside the boundary. That's really helping keep the ball in the corridor and helping with fatigue.
Yeah, it certainly is. And again, I think the whole reason that it was brought in was more from scoring opportunities. So for those who probably don't know, the difference is now that when the ball is over the boundary line in the forward 50, it's thrown in. So essentially, you're throwing it in 25 metres out, from goal pretty much every time, which again creates more scoring opportunities. Whereas in the past, if the ball sort of trickled into the 50 and rolled out, it's just been banged straight back out again. So, it certainly puts the defence under a fair bit of heat, but the forward line are absolutely loving it because they're getting a whole heap of cracks at the goal. So, look, again, that's one of the rules I think where we're going to see an increase in scoring, which is always a good thing. Yeah,
look, I've got to say, having seen both seasons now, I'm really looking forward to this one because I felt last season, particularly in the back half of the season, there was a really detectable improvement in the skill level across the board, and hopefully, there's no reason why it shouldn't continue to improve in season 3. Speaking of which, you've had a very successful basketball career and made the transition like a lot of women from other sports. You've got the one season under your belt now. Do you feel like you're in a much more positive place to attack season 2?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, my first season was a little bit unknown in the sense that, I was attacking it. I hadn't been through a pre-season before. It was unknown to me what I'd feel after, round 4 or round 5, from a fatigue point of view and where my body was at and those sort of things. So I've certainly gone about things a little bit differently, knowing what I know now, leading into the season, and certainly lent on a lot of the other girls who've been through those seasons and have had those experiences, and really leaned on their experience and what they can bring and how I can go about things better. So I think I feel a lot more prepared for what we're about to enter, and I suppose the roller coaster that comes with sport in general, let alone in the AFL world. I think I'm better prepared for that going into season 2.
Will your role be similar to last season?
I think it will be from an on-field point of view. When Bree went down last year with her knee, we had a big hole in the back line, so I ended up getting moved sort of from the midfield and playing that sort of lockdown defensive role early on in the season, which probably was a little bit unexpected for myself and probably from a club point of view as well. But this year I've really cemented myself in the back line and have taken on that role and been put into the leadership group as well. So I've really embraced that role, and we'll certainly transition that onto the on-field and sort of play that sort of general role down back and be that sort of communication point between the players and the coaching staff and those sort of things. So, look, it has changed slightly. I mean, we've got a different line down there, so we're all learning together pretty quickly. And I think everyone's just the overwhelming feeling amongst everyone is just we're so excited and just can't wait to get off the training track and onto the ground and get playing.
So for those not up on the fixtures, the first game against Collingwood, is it? Carlton Collingwood?
No, we're down in Tassie this year. Actually, we take on North in their first game down in Tassie. So
right.
It's a bit of a different. Sure, it's going to be a different atmosphere from what we're used to in round 1, which was the Carlton Collingwood game at Icon, and we've been shipped down to Tassie. So we're actually looking forward to that challenge. North are going to be up and about for their first inaugural game. They've been obviously put in season 2019, so we're going to have to be ready and on our game, and from that first bounce, be ready to roll. Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the fixture now. So Saturday you got Geelong, Collingwood, Adelaide Bulldogs, and then Sunday you guys taking on the Kangas down at Blundstone, and Melbourne, Freo, Casey, and Brisbane, GWS. So, big comp, and I think a lot of us are really looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us, Kerryn. Really appreciate your time, and all the best for this season. And tell Half to put on a pair of decent-sized shorts.
I'll do my best. Thanks for having me.
Kerryn Harrington, Carlton AFLW stalwart, and the Blues looking to improve on what was a pretty disappointing 2018. I think their prospects are looking a lot brighter for 2019.